Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. Regular viewers will know I review many photographic, audio and video related products. Well, today we're out in the garden. Lovely, glorious sunny afternoon, and it's a great time to get out and about in the garden and do some reviews. And I thought I'd do a test on 3 or 4 cameras, maybe 5, to do with vlogging, how good they are at vlogging. And for a vlogging camera, you want something that's compact, something that's light, because if you're carrying it around for a long time, particularly with your arm extended, you don't want anything really heavy. Good ergonomics, preferably one with a mic jack, and the headphone jack would be great, but certainly a mic jack would be helpful, and an articulating screen of some description. The first one I'm testing is the Olympus OM-D E-M1 Mark II. Does 4K video, HD as well obviously. I'm using it in 4K mode at the moment, and it's awesome. It's got manual exposure controls and the ergonomics are really good. So when you're holding it out, you can you can adjust your settings fairly easily. I can get to my aperture control quite easily for increasing the aperture and decreasing it. I'm on manual exposure at the moment, which is great, you know. And it's got a mic jack, headphone jack. You can see I'm not very good at vlogging, so I'm not really holding it that steady. But the image stabilization is great in the Olympus cameras. So the fact I'm not holding it very steady shouldn't really make too much of a difference. Now that'll overexpose as I move, so I can actually adjust that and take that, oh, gone the wrong way, take that down a bit. So that's really great, you know, that's definitely a well overexposed there. And it's actually not a bad screen to see. Oh, going the wrong way, let's go that way. That's better. Where are we? There we are. It's not a bad screen to see. Now this is really bright sunlight and I can still see fairly easily what I'm, I can still see myself and see what I'm doing. So that's the Olympus OM-D E-M1 Mark II. It's probably a bit too heavy for long-term use for vlogging, but it's actually a great camera. Now let's take a look at the Panasonic G9. The G9 is really a competitor to the OM-D E-M1 II, and I see it as a direct competitor to it. It's got very, very similar features, both for stills and for video. Obviously today we're looking at vlogging. A great vlogging camera. It's a bit heavier than the EM1 II. It's 100 grams heavier approximately, but it's got very similar features. It's got the articulating screen, which obviously is essential with vlogging, be it an articulating screen or a flip up or a flip down screen. As long as you've got some form of seeing, what you're doing, is ideal. I know you can plug a monitor on the top of some cameras, but you don't need to with these. I've actually got fitted to it my 7-14 lens, my Panasonic 7-14 lens. That's great because I haven't got to hold it out so far. I can hold it at that, which is great. I really should have put that on the OM1 when I tested that one. So that's the Panasonic G9. Headphone jack and microphone jack. Microphone is really important. You can get away without a headphone jack. And it's got 5-axis image stabilization. So again, like the OM1. So you can see why they're so similar. One of the biggest differences though is that the OM1 has got phase detect autofocus points, where the G9 here relies on contrast detect. They call it depth from defocus. So, it'd be interesting to see how it holds on to your face. Manual controls here for your aperture and exposure, aperture, shutter speed. Great control for adjusting the aperture when you're holding it like this, because of the positioning of the dial. It's on the top rather than on the front, so it's a lot easier to get to. I'm actually really enjoying that, but it is a bit heavier, even though I'm not holding my hand out quite so far. But yeah, let's see how good that is. Again, nice vlogging camera, and great to be able to get to the controls easily to turn the aperture, whoops, up and down. I've hit the mic button. Get rid of that, that's better. Yeah, great camera. Really, you can see, I can get to the exposure controls nice and easily. It should be a nice image quality coming out of this. 4K image quality, the same as on, the OM1 II. So, it should be really, really good. For me, it's just a bit heavy for vlogging. I found the OM1 too was, you know, after a period of time gets quite heavy, but this one is even heavier. So there we go. That's the Panasonic G9. The next one we'll look at, I think, is the Olympus EPL9. We're now going to take a look at the Olympus EPL9. It's a really nice compact camera, and it could be the ideal vlogging camera. It's got the flip down screen, which is probably better for eye contact. It seems to work really nicely. I think I've got it set to shutter priority, so it's adjusting the aperture automatically, which again is fine. It's got image stabilization. It's nice to hold. The record button on the back here is a bit of a pain to stop and start, but other than that, it's actually got a touch screen to stop and start recording, so that's a nice feature. Actually, just touch the screen, so that's really handy. A really good quality screen. The only thing is lacking, which is really annoying, it hasn't got a mic jack. Now I'm running the mic into my Olympus OM-D E-M1 Mark II, so because I'm going to sync it, it's not a terrible concern. I would strongly advise that you use an external audio recorder and post-sync it, not rely on the microphones that are built into the camera. I mean, if you listen to the sound now that's coming off the EPL9, I'll cut to the sound that's coming off the EPL9, you'll probably find it's not as good. Well, it isn't, not probably find, you will find it's nowhere near as good as, you know, a lapel mic. I'm using the Rode Wireless Goes, but that's a nice camera. It's easy to hold. I've again got my Panasonic 7-14 lens fitted to this camera, so you can see there on auto exposure for vlogging is much better. You haven't got to muck around with finding the settings. I should have set the others to auto exposure really. Just makes it nice and easy, particularly when you're going from bright sunlight to dark. So yeah, I'm actually so far I'm very pleased with the EPL9, but I wouldn't be happy with its not having a mic jack if I didn't use an external audio recorder. But no, that's working fine. So I think we can quite safely say it's a lot lighter as well. It's nowhere near as heavy as the Olympus and the G9. That's the Olympus EPL9. I've now got the Canon M6 Mark II. Great little compact camera. It's really, really good. It's got interchangeable lenses and it's part of the M range of cameras like the Canon M50, M3, M200 that's just come out. And it's a really tiny camera. Well, it's not tiny, but it's really compact. It's got a 32 megapixel sensor, so great for doing stills. And a great vlogging camera because it is nice and compact. I've got fitted to it the Canon grip that I bought with the wireless remote control, and that's great for stopping and starting. There's no fumbling around with the camera. You do it all by the remote. I don't know, it's got a wide and telephoto setting. I don't think that'll work with this particular lens. No, it doesn't. So yeah, great camera. Now the clever thing with the Canon cameras, they have dual pixel autofocus, and that works in 4K as well on this camera. So the dual pixel autofocus should give me really tenacious autofocus on my face. It should be the best of all of them, and I'm really hoping it is. So we won't know till we look at this back at the studio, but I'm just holding that steady there. It hasn't got steady shot in it. It hasn't got optical or sensor-based steady shot. It's electronic-based steady shot. So be interesting to see how good that is. And you know, I'm shaking a bit, but I think that's holding that quite steady. Although I am sat down, obviously. But that's a Canon M6 Mark II. Great camera. As I say, 32 megapixels for stills. So that's really, really good. And it should be a great vlogging camera. I like the camera itself. I've had great stills from it, so you know, again, it's a flip up screen as opposed to a flip down screen or an articulating screen. I don't know about eye contact, whether it's obvious I'm looking at the screen as opposed to looking at the lens. I'm now looking at the lens, so be interesting to see how good that is. It's on manual exposure at the moment, so that's going to obviously well overexpose, but let's sit back down and see, you know, I can see the box around my face, so it is picking up my face. That should be quite good. It's a nice camera to use, even for vlogging. It's not a particularly heavy camera. It's the best one so far as usability is concerned, I think. But we shall have to see. And the screen can be seen perfectly fine in bright sunlight. It's certainly bright out today, so I can see that quite clearly. You know what I'm doing, regardless of, even if the sun's pointing directly at it, I can still see it. So that's a Brucey bonus. So there we go, that's the Canon M6 Mark II. We're now looking at the Z50, the Nikon Z50. It's a great compact camera. It's an APS-C camera that uses the Z mount, and I think that was very, very ingenious of Nikon to do that. So it will take the same Z mount lenses as the full frame equivalent, like the Z6 and the Z7. But I've got fitted to it the DX 16-50 Z mount lens. So it's an APS-C lens, very much totally designed for the Z50. The Z50, beautifully ergonomically designed, whatever that means, but it's a great ergonomically designed camera. It's got face detect and it's got phase detect autofocus points, kind of similar to the Canon M6 Mark II, which has got dual pixel autofocus. This has got phase detect autofocus. There's no image stabilization in the body of a camera though. It relies totally on the image stabilization in the lens. But that's the Nikon Z50. Great for vlogging because it's nice and compact. It's got the flip down screen instead of the flip up screen. So again, I'm always conscious as to what my eye contact is. Is it looking down the lens? Is it looking at the screen? Is it obvious? I don't know. I think it's not as obvious as the ones with the articulating screens that come out to the side, like on the Olympus and on the Panasonic. But yeah, great camera. That should be fairly steady, I think. Although my hand is shaking around a bit, that's for sure. I'm on manual exposure at the moment, so it will overexpose, underexpose a bit. I have got auto ISO set, so I'm kind of hoping that's, you know, making the adjustments for me. But yeah, that's for, yeah, very bright there. Whoa, that's well overexposed. But yeah, very, very bright screen. So you can clearly see this screen in direct sunlight and in bright sunlight. Again, very, very helpful if you're doing vlogging. It has got a mic jack. It's got no headphone jack, but it has got a mic jack, which is really, really important for vlogging. It saves post-syncing afterwards, which is what you would have to do with the Olympus EPL9. We're now taking a look at the Panasonic G90, and the G90 is a great camera. Now, I purchased it primarily because it has unlimited recall time. Now, that is dependent on, obviously, the battery doesn't run out and the SD card doesn't fill up, but it's a nice compact camera. And you know what? It's really light and it's really nice to use. So far, from a handling point of view, it's my favourite camera. The controls are easy enough to get to, it's light, it's got 5-axis image stabilisation in the body of a camera, and with a right lens, or right lenses, as long as they're Panasonic lenses, you've got dual image stabilisation. I've got this set to manual record at the moment, but that's absolutely working great. It's got the articulating screen, which Panasonics are really renowned for, the same as it's on the OM-D E-M1 too. So whether or not it's obvious that I'm looking at the screen or looking down the lens, I don't know. But it's got face detect. It is depth from defocus, which is basically contrast detect autofocus. But that should still work fine. I'm happy with the way that's working. It seems to be working anyway. The image stabilisation is great. I can see that's great. It may be a bit overexposed because I'm using manual exposure. But yeah, no, that's a great, great camera. Really great camera, great lens. It's well overexposed there. So let's come back here where it isn't exposed, overexposed. The monitor again works great in this light, and it's working beautifully. I would say at the moment it's my favourite camera for vlogging. I don't really do any vlogging, but it's light enough. It's got the headphone jack and a microphone jack, so great for putting in your external microphone and checking your audio levels. So yeah, a great camera, the Panasonic G90. I've got one more camera to test. I couldn't do this camera yesterday because I didn't have it. It only arrived in the post today. And it's an older camera. It's a Canon M5 and it's a great little camera. I'm saying they're all great, I know, but this one is really, really great. I got it second hand and I got it for 330 quid. So, you know, it's an absolute steal. Now, it's part of the Canon's M range of cameras. So it's a model down from the new M6 Mark II. The M5 was their flagship camera. It clearly isn't now because the M6 Mark II has replaced it. But what I like about the M5, it's got a viewfinder where the M6 Mark II hasn't. And I find that for taking photographs absolutely fantastic. 24 megapixel APS-C sensor, so great for stills. Does great video. It's got the flip down screen. It's a great camera. It's got image stabilization, but it's digital image stabilization as opposed to, you know, optical or in-body image stabilization. I guess it works in conjunction with the image stabilization if you're using a Canon lens. So, which I am at the moment. I'm using the Canon 11-22. So it's a really nice light camera to use. It's very compact. As I said, it only shoots in HD. It isn't a 4K camera, and it has got a mic jack. So I've got my Rode Wireless Go going straight into the camera. So it should be picking up the sound quite nicely. I've now had the opportunity to look at all the cameras that I've tested, including the one that arrived today, the Canon M5. And I have to say, they're all really good, but there are some that are better than the others. Now, my favourite one for vlogging actually is one of the cheapest ones, which is the Canon M5. As I said, I picked this up for 330 quid. And you can get them on eBay for around about 260, 270 quid. Body only, then you'd have to buy a lens. So you're looking about 350 possibly. What a great price for a really decent vlogging camera. It is only HD, and I am happy to sacrifice just a little bit in quality for the weight and the convenience of this camera. And as I said, it has got the flip down screen. I was also impressed with the Olympus EPL9. That produced beautiful images, but it hasn't got a it hasn't got a mic jack, so I found that a little bit more inconvenient. But this one, because it has got the mic jack, get my cable out of the way, has got a mic jack, it's got dual pixel autofocus. Yeah, very pleased with the M5 for vlogging, and clearly for stills it's going to be great. I haven't taken any yet, so I don't know for sure, but I'll do a review on that as far as that's concerned. But for vlogging, yeah, great little camera. I found the Olympus OM-D E-M1, which is what I'm filming there, and the Panasonic G9 for me were just a bit too bulky, bit too heavy, and if you're mainly into vlogging, probably a bit too expensive as well. And then we had the G90. That worked great, a great size, but still quite an expensive camera and bulkier. But they do have headphone jacks though, where this one doesn't have a headphone jack. And the Nikon Z50, well, I don't know what to make of that yet. It's a much softer image, almost like it's out of focus. So I will be looking into that as to why that is the case. So, and the Canon M6 Mark II, great camera for vlogging, because it's got the flip up screen and it's got a mic jack, but probably a bit too expensive if you're just into vlogging, but it is nice and compact. So yeah, the winner for this particular test is the Canon M5, and here we are, we're using the M5 now. And you know, I hope you found my channel useful. I hope you found this video useful. Please subscribe to this channel if you do find my videos useful, and hit the like button if you found this particular video useful. So thanks very much for watching, and stay tuned for more videos relating to video and photography. Bye.